if you would love to support us, we have just released brand new Gunz and Bunz merch. Yes, I have merch, ladies and gentlemen. But we have things from like t-shirts, stickers. We have
cute little visor.
Rash guards. Yeah, I got a visor. Maybe I'll sport it on the show sometime. But we've got a lot of cute merch for Gunz and Bunz. But you can find that at gunzandrolls.com. And then finally, I would love to invite you to just share this podcast with someone that you think would like it. And if you could subscribe to Gunz and Rolls, you'll get to see more Gunz and Bunz episodes like this one.
Welcome to Gunz and Bunz, a podcast that celebrates strong, successful women. Please like and subscribe to our Gunz and Rolls Fitness channel to see more episodes like this one. Today, I would like to welcome my guest, Kaytlyn Sandmeyer. Kate is a mom of 2 boys and 1 girl. She is the director of project management at Atlas. Her company has over 45 project managers, and she has been working at Atlas going on 10 years. In that time, she has seen them grow from a $30 million company with a projection of $130 million this year. Kate lives an active lifestyle. She grew up racing go-karts and worked as a tuner for other teams for years until she moved to Charlotte. Her son, Levi, is a CHD heart warrior who lives with congenital heart defect and had heart surgery at 8 weeks old. During this time, Kate was dealing with postpartum. Additionally, her youngest, Amelia, was born during the pandemic. In 2022, Kate started boxing again. Originally, Kate learned boxing when she was 18 years old. Kate is an MMA fighter and a blue belt in Jiu Jitsu. In 2023, she had her first MMA fight and has had 4 fights in total. Her primary focus has been Jiu Jitsu. Kate is also the women's Jiu Jitsu coach at Rowan Wrestling Academy, where she trains. Kate prides herself on her positive attitude and work ethic in everything she does while being a full-time mom. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. So we're going to begin today just maybe having you share a little bit about where you grew up and how it kind of shaped you, who you are today.
Yeah, so I am the oldest of 3. I come from upstate New York. So Buffalo Bills country, go Bills. And I grew up in a small town, lots of snow, and I grew up racing with my family, actually. My dad was a mechanic and loved racing his whole life and was excited to do that with his kids. So me and both of my brothers raced.
Okay. So what would you say drives you to do your best? Because I know you, and knowing like your list of MMA and jiu-jitsu and how hard you work, what is it that kind of drives you to do your best?
I have always had an action personality. I feel like I'm very impatient. So I was always, looking for the next thing to try. I have always liked to try new things. And growing up racing, I feel like I became very competitive, and that sport kind of took all of my attention as a kid. But we did that as a family, so I was able to, progress, I would say, pretty quickly. My dad worked really hard to make sure that we all had an opportunity to compete, whether it was locally, nationally. We used to travel and do it. And I feel like all of the efforts that I saw him put in throughout the week paid off on the weekend. Yeah. So I feel like I learned that really push forward attitude and, make sure you do your homework before you get there so that we can be successful.
So it was primarily like the go-kart racing. So did you do any other sports growing up? I
did, yeah.
Okay.
I danced my entire, the little girl dancing. Yeah. I danced through to high school. I did lacrosse in high school. I played tennis, and I tried soccer. But
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, we played tennis, and I would say lacrosse was predominantly where I landed.
Okay. So that probably lends itself to like your MMA career now and Jiu Jitsu and all of that, right? Growing up with all of that. Speak more about going back to the go-kart racing. I don't know the proper way to say that,
racing, it's fine.
But you talked a little bit in your bio about how you worked as a tuner for other teams for years until moving to Charlotte. So speak about that, because that's a whole world I have no idea about.
So the go-karts, they're not like, fun carts that you go. They go about 65 to 80 miles an hour, just depending on the track you're on. And so you're strapping in a kid to, they're really low to the ground. They don't have any seat belts, but we would race on road course. So we did asphalt road course. Like in the South here, there's a lot of dirt tracks, and that's
what I was wondering. Okay.
But it's all asphalt road course where I grew up. So, we tried both. I tried some oval, I tried some dirt racing, but I ended up getting a job in high school at the shop that made the chassis. And so I really began working to understand like what made them fast. Like, a lot of racing is very different than what we do now, jiu-jitsu and MMA. Like racing, there's a lot of money involved. Your money can buy you better equipment, and that changes your performance, right? But also, like, there's a lot of setup that goes into racing. So I really wanted to learn the setup side, and that's abnormal for a female, right? So my dad was a mechanic. Like, there was nothing I wasn't willing to try to learn to do. So rebuilding clutches, taking engines on and off, and really just understanding, like, the setup of the go-karts, I was able to tune my own stuff. Wow. And then as I got older and was actually driving for the company that built the chassis, a couple other families had asked for my help. They were just getting into the sport or just learning. I tend to be very personable. I try to, help people if they need help. So I was helping, coach their kids, and then, teach them really the tuning that I had learned, and to help their children be more successful.
That's awesome. Does that translate over, ignorant question, but does that translate over into like real, like car world? Like, could you fix your own car if it like broke down? Could you do your own? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that translate. There are definitely different engines and different parts and stuff, but yes, a lot of the mechanics translate. So it's good knowledge to have. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit, since we're already talking about like how your dad was kind of like that person that got you into that, like, and he was always kind of the one that like kind of pushed you. How did you kind of get into jiu-jitsu and the MMA world? Because again, I think that's really interesting that when you see females in this predominantly male like world, right? Yeah. So tell us about that.
Well, I was looking for something to support racing. I was still doing it at 18 and 19, and I started working out, and then I got in. I needed something more than just lifting weights and putting them down. I know that is really important, and I still do it to this day. But I liked HIIT workouts, like high intensity interval training. And I decided to try a boxing gym because they had like boxing fitness classes. And I got pretty heavy into that because I was like, man, this is challenging. This is hard. I'm getting the best bang for my buck for 1 hour workout. You're getting a ton of calorie burn. So I started learning that, and I really liked it. And just as life happened and I got, my first real job, I would say, out in the world, I feel like I kind of put boxing on the side and stuck just to weightlifting. After I had my children, I was very eager to lose the weight, but also like feel like myself again. And I just decided that boxing was the best workout for me at the time for a small amount of time, but I needed the best workout I could get. So I found a trainer, and I started doing boxing again here in North Carolina. He introduced me to like Muay Thai, not just boxing. There's Muay Thai, and how Muay Thai translates into MMA. And then, the groundwork with MMA is Jiu Jitsu, and I had never heard of it. And I was like, what is that? And so I saw a class, and I was fascinated and was like, okay, I need to try this too. So here we are.
So that would have been what year? Because you said in your bio in 2022 you started boxing, and so like how long do you think before? And I see you had your first MMA fight was 2023, so you were maybe already doing jiu-jitsu then?
I jumped in with both feet at that point. Yeah. So, and I had Amelia in 2020, probably started working out again 2021, and then started boxing in 22. I think I did that for 6 months before I tried anything else, because I was strictly using like the pad work for cardio. And then as far as jiu-jitsu goes, I feel like I started that late 22, maybe November, and I had my first fight in July, where we just put it all together.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, if you already had the foundational skills of MMA, I think, jiu-jitsu just makes it even better.
Amateur MMA schools, but yes, we tried.
Wow. What would you say to someone who is just starting out in jiu-jitsu or the MMA world? Like, I mean, especially like a female starting out, right? Because I think we're few and far between in this sport. And so what would you say to someone to keep them coming back, and even when they're feeling deflated? And I mean, because we all know how it feels, right, to win and lose. So what would you say to that person that's new to that sport?
I feel like jiu-jitsu is very intimidating for a female, especially if you don't have a friend or someone you know that's already doing it and can explain to you the benefits and why that commitment will pay you back in return, right? But as far as like encouraging other women to do it, I would be the first person to stand up and let them know that it is extremely, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like, what does jiu-jitsu give you back? Like,
I don't know if liberating is the right word, if it's like the fact that it translates into everything in life. It's just a great lesson for life, I feel, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, the lessons you learn in class, like the moves you're learning, I mean, it's definitely educational in many ways, right? I've heard so many people refer to it as a chess game, not checkers, right? Like, it's methodical, it's very technical, but I don't know if that's what you were looking for.
No, it's okay. Yeah, the strategy. But I feel like the intimidating piece for a female is like full contact sports for females are limited.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have women's football teams.
Right,
There's just now, I feel like even women's wrestling is getting the recognition that it probably should have had a long time ago. So it's very intimidating. It's foreign, but not only for the self-defense aspect of it, but to like be able to give yourself the confidence and the strength that you can handle any situation that is given to you. I feel like that is invaluable to a female.
Absolutely. It gives you like a confidence, right? And like knowing that you could handle yourself if you need to. But then going back to what you were saying too, like, it's kind of intimidating for a female to walk into a jiu-jitsu gym or an MMA gym and it's just all males, right? Like most of the time. Yeah. And I feel like we're kind of lucky in a sense because we've built a community of women at both of our gyms.
Yes.
But yeah, I definitely think the big part is getting yourself in there and hopefully, there's, surround yourself with the women that are at the gym to kind of like, give you that little sense of hope and confidence that you would need to actually perform or be in that gym.
I feel like jiu-jitsu is a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Yeah.
When you pour the box out, you got to flip them all over and you first got to find the corner pieces. But what I tell the girls when they first start is like, here's the corner piece to this giant puzzle. And by next week, you will have more of the corners. Yeah. And then the week after that, you will start framing the edges. So don't give up. It is very difficult to start, like let alone walking in and being intimidated. That's one thing. But coming in and just understanding like the very basic, what is a guard?
Yeah.
What is, why do you need an underhook? You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
It's that stuff is difficult to catch on. And then I feel like 2 months in, it literally takes 8 weeks, I think, for somebody to go, okay, this is really starting to make sense. No matter how many times I fail, I'm going to get back up and try again. And that rewarding piece starts, kicking in. And then you're not asking them to come back. I mean, they're there at every class at that point.
Right. And it was kind of like what you said, like once you finally keep coming back, right, you start stringing together moves. What I have found with jiu-jitsu too, like I may have seen a move 100 times. But sometimes it it depends on the person teaching it too, right? Like it might finally click with you depending on who your coach is, right?
Yep.
Like Avery teaches at Triumph, right? And he's very good with his with teaching. And then we have like David, who will sometimes teach like no-gi, and then Brittany teaches the women's class, right? And then sometimes Brittany will teach something, and I'm like, I have never seen that before, but
yeah,
it's
now
just
it makes
another way,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
It's another way, a different way. Maybe a way she's adapted to because it worked for her. But it's just cool to kind of see people teach it differently, right? In
I
different
agree.
aspects.
Cross training, I think, is huge. Like if you never cross train, you are missing out on, an like you said, an opportunity to maybe see something from a little bit different perspective.
Yes.
So, when we travel, we try and see if there's local gyms that we can get classes from or do a drop-in, and just seeing their different coaching styles and the different things that are important to them that they are conveying to their students. It's really interesting to, get another look at something you see every other day.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us a little bit about the women's jiu-jitsu class that you coach, right?
Yes.
At Rowan Wrestling Academy. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes, yes.
So tell us about that. How do you kind of develop your lessons? Where do you get the ideas? Do you depend on like the women that are coming? Give us like feedback about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in an effort to make it more inviting, not less intimidating, and available to the females in the community, we had a lot of interest from some of our regular members' wives or moms of the kids doing wrestling there, or kids already doing jiu-jitsu. And, a few people had mentioned it and encouraged it. And I finally, finding the time to make sure that that fits in the schedule and I can make the commitment. So while the kids do the jiu-jitsu class, I have a Wednesday night women's only jiu-jitsu at Rowan Wrestling Academy. And I was hoping, having it during the kids' jiu-jitsu that moms could see, okay, kids can train upstairs and moms are training downstairs, and just an hour to focus on yourself and, making yourself better, but also by being surrounded by a ton of other women that are just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's been really great. We had a women's MMA program a few months back. And I think, there's MMA is a little bit intimidating for women too, right? Because you're striking. And so
the face.
once a week is really hard to really get technique. But the goal here was to have a jiu-jitsu class that they could attend and then introduce them to the program so that they could also join the other classes. That's cool. And it has been extremely successful. We just started it in February. We've had lots of women come through and then also join the rest of the classes. So now all of our classes at Rowan Wrestling Academy have women sprinkled throughout the entire week, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been great to teach technique that I have seen 100 times, but when I am teaching it, I feel like that's really helping me as well.
Yeah.
Focus on, the key parts of that technique and making sure it's correct. And then really taking the time to like slow it down and explain why the certain aspects of things are important. The women that have come through, the fun part is they've all pretty much stayed. Like we've had people start and then they have continued. So I'm super excited just that everybody is, just like walking into TFA and the women's group that you guys have there. It's been really great to just have these women inviting each other to class, checking in on each other, making sure they're going to be there, and then just having fun. I try and build on technique each week. That is like pretty big for me. I remember I was that guy in the classes in the beginning, like, okay, I see that, but show me the defense. Yeah. And
Yes, we are too. I feel like I'm like that too, right?
If someone's doing that to me, how am I getting out?
Because I'm always like, someone is going to do that to me, so I need to know how to get out.
So I do try and build. So when I lesson plan, it's probably too much, but I'm trying to look at, okay, what am I doing this week that we can build on next week? And then what offenses am I teaching that I can also show the defense? Because if you're drilling with a partner that's just hanging out there, you're kind of wasting their time, I feel. Why not have them work the defense technique while the partner's working the offense? So I try and jam pack the lessons for the women's class since they're only coming once a week, just so that we can cover a little bit more of the basis. And then we do live rolls at the very end.
Cool. Do you do like a warm up, or do you just start with like drilling a move, or like maybe like a drill that would be like helpful to like a specific move?
Yeah, we started doing drills like top drills. So focusing on maintaining pressure while rotating through side control, north-south side control, and then breaking out of guard.
Cool.
So they're able to move with each other. You know, your partner's giving a little bit of resistance, but you're really focusing on maintaining your position on top, hoping that'll help translate over into competition.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I wanted to speak to your point too about like it's helpful for you to also teach the moves, right? Because there's so many like tiny like small like nuances to every move, I feel.
Yes.
Right? Like it's I don't know. Every time I do a move, I'm like, or if I'm trying to teach a move to someone, I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't think about this teeny tiny moment where I have to have an arm or a leg in a certain position. And so it is important, I think, to teach what you know, because that's when you find the holes, right? Or those spots where you're like, oh, I need to fine tune that, or I have to get clarification on that, because you're just sometimes you go through the motions and you're just used to doing it because after you've been doing it for a while, I don't know, it just seems easy. But I don't know. I think that's really important to teach others about that. But do you guys have you gotten to the point with like the women at Rowan, do you do like any social outings or anything like that? I'm just curious because I'm a social queen. I'm like social committee chair at school. So I think that really just helps build camaraderie too. Like, have you guys done anything like that, or is that something you guys would
haven't
consider?
done like a specific women's outing. We absolutely need
to go go-karting. Take
them all. Take them all.
Go-karting.
Oh gosh. I did take AJ the go-kart track, so even though he can beat me in jiu-jitsu, we all know who can win in a car.
And it's funny when you say racing, I'm like, where do you live? You're like in Mooresville, right?
Yeah.
Like Mooresville, that's where all the like
yes.
NASCAR people are. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay. Well, so we talked about that. As far as Rowan, do you want to talk about like anything else they offer? I mean, that's a great time to like
we
plug
can.
your academy. So like what about
Rowan Wrestling Academy is kind of like dual purpose. I feel like they have a really awesome wrestling program, and then they have the jiu-jitsu separately. They also have striking. So people who are working to train MMA. We used to have a lot of like MMA focused classes, and I feel like those have transitioned into more of like the jiu-jitsu structure. But they have kids wrestling, they have advanced wrestling. We have a lot of high school wrestlers that and Anson Phillips heads that part of the program. I do not take any of the wrestling classes, or I'm not a part of that side, but I see huge numbers in those classes, and kids that are coming night after night each week to train there. So there's a huge wrestling community. And then we also have the jiu-jitsu classes for kids, and we have the adult jiu-jitsu program. So I definitely partake more in the adult jiu-jitsu. There's striking classes they do a couple nights a week, also for adults and kids.
So do they offer a specific number of like no gi and gi versus gi, like, or is it since it's more wrestling, no gi more? I don't know. Like,
so the wrestling classes are always separate. We offer like jiu-jitsu, wrestling for jiu-jitsus, wrestling for jiu-jitsu one night a week, and it's specifically focused on hand fighting and takedowns. But there are gi classes and then no gi classes. So like Mondays and Wednesday, I think is gi. Tuesday, Thursday is no
very
gi.
Similar to Triumph. Yeah, that's cool. Going back to that women's classes. So is that like kind of like a free class where it's because you said then they eventually start coming back to some of the other classes?
Yeah, and there's a drop-in. I think
a drop-in fee.
It's like $15 to try the women's class, and then that's what's been happening is they end up with a jiu-jitsu membership because they're able to come to any of the day classes that they offer or night classes throughout the week.
Okay. Do you have any MMA fights coming up? I noticed, or any fights coming up? I know you do. Jiu-jitsu match coming up, right? Do you want to speak to what's coming up for that side?
Yeah, we can. So, my last MMA fight was in the summer of last year. While I love MMA training, like I love the intensity of what it takes to train for an MMA fight. That 8-week camp, like there's nothing like that. But I have switched a lot of my focus to jiu-jitsu. So I still try and train more of an MMA style. I had gotten second at Pans last year and second at Worlds for IBJJF. And this year, I would really like to go back and claim both of those titles. So that is top of my list for athletic goals this year. But actually tomorrow, we have which I have never done anything like this, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a pit fight, which is like Jiu Jitsu in like a built up
pit, and it's teeny tiny. The pit is so small.
This is a small pit. Like this is not Craig Jones Invitational pit.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? This is like this area right here. Is
this
pit.
rug.
Yes. So, but it's tag team, so it's 4 women per team, and there's 4 teams. So they're gonna have square, all 4 teams, and you can tag in a teammate. You will go. It's like Royal Rumble style too. So it's like a 30-minute match. All 4 teams will be standing on the corners, and then it's last team standing. So,
wow,
yeah,
tag team. So like, what if someone gets submitted? Like, silly question. So how does that work?
Team A and Team B.
Yeah.
They send in one person each. Okay. If they tag someone in, they swap.
Okay.
But somebody's out, that team is left with 3.
Oh, okay.
And then now Team C sends somebody in. And so until there's no one left.
Wow. Where could someone watch that at? Do you know? It's online, right? It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I think
there's a link on YouTube.
For, Garami Grappling in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh,
so
my word.
What
time's that at tomorrow?
Tomorrow it starts at 5. Okay. I think there's a women's team for All the Glory, I think it's called, but there's a women's team at, I think it's 6. And then later on tomorrow night, there's a men's version of it at like 8 p.m. So
that'll be fun. I can't wait to see how
chaos.
that pans
I think
out.
It's going to be chaos, but it should be fun.
That's so cool. Wow. So will AJ be there with you, kind of helping? Like he coaches you too for your
AJ will be there
fights?
to coach. We actually have 4 other athletes that are going to be there tomorrow night too. So we have our team for the women's match, and then we have a couple kids matches going on too. Okay. So yeah, he'll be there coaching. AJ has coached all of my like MMA fights, any of the jiu-jitsu things I've done.
So did you meet him at
Rowan? Yep.
Nice. That's awesome. Great. All right. Is there anything else in that realm of like MMA and jiu-jitsu that you'd want to speak to?
I mean, no, we covered a lot of stuff. I definitely encourage anybody who hasn't done jiu-jitsu to definitely give it a try and give it more than one class. Like that is probably a very important aspect of it.
So let's talk a little bit about your daily life, like your career. You're a director of project management. Do you want to speak to that? Because again, teacher world, I don't know anything about like project management and like this company Atlas. So do you want to speak about that? And
yeah, sure. So I work for a company that does exterior branding, and it has a lot to do with construction. I started there actually as like coordinator, just like an admin, and I have pushed really hard to earn the role of director of project management. Wow. And I really enjoy training up the team and like our new hires, and really working with the employees to find the best fit for successful delivery of these construction projects that we work on. But it's busy. I have, all 3 kids, school and daycare and sports that they do, and then, work full time. Find a little bit of time in there to work out myself and stay, on track with my fitness goals, and then turn around and make sure that the kids are, involved or getting to try all the new things that they're doing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So let's talk a little bit about your kiddos, because in your bio, I did not realize about Levi, about his condition. Do you want to speak about them and what they're up to?
I feel like I have often not wanted to talk about that because it was really tough as a mom, having a brand new baby. I had no idea. And after he was born, they're doing the regular checkups, and they heard the heart murmur. And I remember when they told me that he they needed to do an ultrasound. So they checked, and I was like, oh, it's my second baby. I'm a professional at this point. We're taking this baby home and everything's great. But they came back and they did tell me his aortic valve was not fully developed. So he would need a surgery. And the hardest part of that was they told me that he would have to get worse before they would do the surgery. Right. And my personality is like, there's a problem, we're going to fix it right now. You know what I mean? Let's get this handled. But obviously, as an infant, they want them as big and as strong as they can be. And so we had to wait, and we went to the doctors every week when he was a baby to get that blood flow checked. And once it reached a certain point, they went ahead and scheduled the surgery.
Oh, so he was 8 weeks old when that happened?
Yes, it was actually Valentine's Day. So I felt like heart surgery on Heart Day was very fitting. Yeah. It was extremely successful surgery, but it was a very scary thing as a young mom to experience. One, just not knowing anything about heart defects and not knowing why that had happened to him. Yeah. I didn't have any experience with anything like that. And then obviously the unknown. Yeah. So I really looked for other people that had experienced this. And I was lucky enough to have, another family that someone was able to put me in touch with that had experienced the same thing. And they gave me a little bit of insight of what to expect that helped me. So I try and be a little bit more open about it because I have since had the opportunity to help someone. Yes. And I remember being so scared and so lost. And so just being able to talk about it and let, them know what to expect and really just know they're not alone in this. They're not the only one that has ever gone through this. That really helped me. So I try and be a little bit more open about it. Yeah. Yeah. Because that absolutely, like you're saying, unless you you wouldn't know a lot about that unless you know someone that's gone through something like that or you yourself goes through it. Right. And so you don't know until you cross that bridge. Right. So, wow, that's pretty scary. How old are your kids? So I kind of know the age range. So Landon just turned 8. Levi is 6, and then Amelia is just about to turn 5. So she's 4 right now, but she's about to turn 5. So they're very close in age, Levi and Amelia. So you had said that during that time frame, you were dealing with not only the heart stuff with Levi, but then you were also struggling with postpartum. Yes. And then that went all basally through your time. The pandemic, yeah. Everything. There was, I mean, I feel like the way I had children, not planned or anything, but I just was in a season of, having and raising babies. Yeah. So between being pregnant and finishing breastfeeding and then being pregnant again and Levi's heart condition. And then I don't think I ever would have been able to have another child. Really? Again, I was so scared of not knowing why that had happened to him. And if it wasn't successful, that scared the daylights out of me. So I was still very much so struggling with postpartum. I think I was up to like 205 pounds after I had Levi. And I could not lose the weight. Like I couldn't get out of my own way. Wow. And Amelia was a surprise. And like, I fully believe I truly needed that surprise because I absolutely needed a girl and I did not know that I needed a girl. But I am really glad because I wanted more children, but the situation with, Levi was scary. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. And then after Amelia, I was still 200 pounds. And at that point with postpartum, I feel like now we talk about it so much more. I feel like the days of not talking about postpartum depression seem to be gone. So I really didn't struggle with talking about it once I realized, but I definitely didn't even know that's what was going on. Right. I feel like you're in the depths of sleep deprivation and, being a mom and figuring out what all that means and all of your new roles. And I had 2 toddlers running around. And at this point, I'm like, okay, we got to carve out some time for ourselves and put that 1 hour of high intensity, whatever I could do. I actually fell in love with the Peloton first. Oh, nice. So I was like, all right, here we go. Jump on this thing, 1 hour and move on. But that just kept obviously snowballing. And I think fitness really is what helped me out of postpartum. Yes, helped you cope, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Is Amelia tough like you?
Oh my God.
Especially, that's funny that you were the oldest and you had 2 younger brothers, and now she's the youngest and has 2 older brothers.
But she is just like me.
Is she?
And but turn the volume up, I think. Like anybody that knows me or knows Amelia and heard you just ask that question is gonna giggle a little bit, because yes, that girl is so fiery.
Oh my goodness. So you were just talking a little bit about like some of those things that you kind of, I mean, it's kind of like overcoming adversity, right? Like the struggles, right? Struggle is real, right? Struggle is a part of life.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
all the time.
Life is not a cakewalk.
Not easy.
At all.
I'm always like, why does life have to be so hard? Nothing ever goes as planned, right? But what do you think it is? I know I asked you what drives you to do your best, but what do you think it is? What is your source of strength when you're going through something hard? Like maybe there's a ritual, maybe there's something you do that, I mean, I know you said fitness too kind of helps you, but what is something that kind of is there as a source of strength for you?
Gosh, this is a raw question.
I know it is.
I have to answer
totally
very honestly.
Yeah, do what you need to.
So as a kid, when you would like take the green flag in a field of 35, other racers, there'd be like that feeling of like, okay, what if, or oh no, but then you lock in and you're, focused and you move forward. And there was a long time that I didn't feel that. So I truly embrace that. And I really tell myself, when you get nerves going into anything, whether I'm at work and I'm about to deliver a presentation, or, I need to pull a team together, or I'm walking into the competition and I'm about to step on the mat.
Yep.
I remind myself of the time that, there's not a lot of things in life that make you feel these nerves. And these are good nerves.
Yeah.
Like you're challenging yourself, you're growing. So I try and embrace it. And I'm like, look, you are very lucky to feel this. And you need to go out there and use, all of the training you've learned and all of the work you've put in. We train for this every day. That's what I try and tell myself too, is this is nothing different than what I have done every day on the mat. So
yeah, I think my biggest struggle with competing, I get in my head. I get in my head a lot, and I usually will size up my competition, and
I feel like we need to talk about just that.
Yeah,
getting in your head.
Yeah,
like you can turn yourself into either the best competitor, or you can really set yourself back right before you walk on the mat. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off.
I have a tendency to do that though. Like I size my opponent up, and I think to myself, oh, I look stronger than her, or oh, she looks like she's really strong, and then I immediately start just questioning everything. I second guess too. I also don't feel like I jump on it. Like if I see an opening for like a takedown or something, initially the takedown is what gets me too, because I'm terrified of hurting myself or someone else. But I feel like that's where I sometimes settle for less than what I'm even capable of doing. I know I'm strong, and I know a lot more than I actually put forth in an actual like competition, but that's my biggest struggle. So I really like that you're saying do it nervous, because do it. If you're gonna do something, do it afraid. I mean, I think that's really awesome, because that's when I think you're gonna probably see yourself doing something that you didn't think was possible. If you're just gonna do it, just do it, and do it scared, and do it nervous, and you might surprise yourself. So.
No, I feel like growth is found in those really tight spaces where things are hard.
Yeah.
And that translates, again, jiu-jitsu translating to all of life things, but we grow when we put ourselves in a tough spot. And I think it's good if you're doing something that you second guess, because if you are unsure, you are either going to prove it to yourself or you're going to back down. And I'm just not one of those people that can back down.
I love that. But that's what's great too. When you do reach that goal, you surprise yourself, and then that's the best feeling, right?
There's the confidence, and you move forward, and that's 100% behind you now, and you will look forward to the next thing. So and
if not, there's that lesson learned. I know in jiu-jitsu we always say you either win or you learn, right? So like there's that lesson learned, or that period of reflection when you look back on something you've done in jiu-jitsu, and you're like, oh, okay, well, now I know what I need to fix, right?
Yeah, we all make mistakes too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, these are human beings fighting with their bare hands, you know?
Yeah.
So we're going to make mistakes and we're going to do things wrong. But I feel like a competition is that true test. Like, is your training giving you what you need to be able to compete at this level? And if there's holes there and there's things you need to work on, you just take that back to your training and then you sign up for another competition and you try again.
What would you recommend for, I mean, I'm 43. So I think one of the things I always say, I feel like I'm slow sometimes to like come up or something or like wrestle up or like in jiu-jitsu. So like, what would you say would be the best form of like practice or type of training or conditioning to kind of increase your stamina, increase your speed, whatever?
Yeah, I think
like that.
being mindful of those things. So like you just said, I need to work on being able to come up faster. When I go into the gym and I'm able to train, you know, not worried about the kids training or anything else, like if it's just me, I will focus on something each week or, you know, every couple days that I am working on. And I feel like when people say that, they think, okay, you want to get better at a specific technique, like a sub or a transition or a sweep. I feel like even just focusing on things like I want to keep better connection or I want to move faster or I want to be able to transition from one thing to the next smoother, looking like really making it granular for yourself. And while you're learning this new technique today, if you're also working on something that you want to be better at, I feel like all of those things really do go into like mindful training, which will help you, you know, progress in anything that you're doing or any sport better. So,
yeah. Wonderful. I feel like even lifting has really helped too, right? Because I mean, the muscle aspect of it does definitely help too with the top pressure and being heavy, right, on your opponent. But sometimes I'm just like, I feel like in competition, I also struggle with my breathing. Like I get so winded and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. Like, or I'll see positions or openings for a position, but I don't always advance because I'm just so spent. I'm just so tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
But if I am like moving and using technique faster and submit someone, I wouldn't have to go as long. I just got to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Try to submit early.
There's so many aspects that like when you are adding jiu-jitsu, if you are a weightlifter, I've had girls that they are lifting 5-6 days a week. Wow. And I used to lift 5-6 days a week. And I was also trying to do the MMA training. And at one point I was like, something has got to give here. Like you're trying to lift, you know, enough weight to be able to build muscle, but then you're also doing this high intensity. It's not cardio and it's not weightlifting, but there's a lot of like stagnant movements where you're staying, you know, your muscles are staying as strong as you can through a movement that may last a minute, you know, and that's very different than weightlifting.
Yes.
So finding the balance of like, okay, am I doing mobility? Am I doing cardio? Am I working on my technique? Like you have to be very mindful of all of those things. Or I feel like you're at a potential for injury too.
True. Yes. Do you write down moves or do you write down like, I'm just curious because I've heard some coaches say, you know, it's like, it's important to like take note. I mean, I'm definitely a visual learner. And so like jotting things helps me remember, but do you happen to take notes or do anything like that?
I have seen people that do the writing in the journals and I just have never been like a note taker. So I am way more of like, I find confidence in the drilling.
Okay.
Like if I am drilling something and I'm, you know, if we focus on it for like a week, I find like repetitive drilling to be helpful and working on like, where can we go from here? How does this build?
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't know how I got back to jiu-jitsu, but
it's okay. It's okay.
How often do you train a week? Are you there every day?
I do find a lot of peace in training. Yes. So I do try and train. Yes. Every day. I struggle to do the rest day, whether it be
so like
anything.
You're saying 7 days a week.
I shouldn't admit that. But
oh my gosh, Kate.
No, I do. I have gotten better about taking a rest day and taking a deep breath and letting my body. So it's definitely helping. So I should probably continue. But yeah.
How many hours a day would you say that is? I mean, because and when you say you train, like, is this one class or are you doing multiple classes? I mean, you're also coaching, so like.
Yeah, I try and get an early training session in, and then throughout the week, I will do 3 or 4 night classes when I can fit them in. So that's like an hour each. If the kids are training, I will train. You know what I mean? But other than that, we have, the weekend on the open mats, excuse me. Yeah, those are my favorite classes because I feel like some open mats can be very like relaxed and, people are working on. Ours are like an MMA camp. Like everyone is in there. The floor is
I've seen your pictures.
Soaked.
Yep.
But everybody is working so hard. And so those are like our hard rounds. Those are my favorite days.
Wow. And then the kids do sports too. So like,
yeah,
I think I'm busy, but it sounds like you're just as busy. It sounds like every mom's
that's
busy.
Mom, yeah.
That's mom life, right?
Yes. And I feel like while we are overwhelmed with things to do and, it's easy to be like, oh, I don't have time for that. But once you take that step as a mom into finding the time making the time for yourself, like you really are. I'm a better mom.
Yes.
Because I train.
Yeah. I
am better to go ahead and get that 1 hour, take care of myself first, and then I'm able to give 100% to them.
Right.
Jiu-Jitsu has made me, we can talk about Jiu-Jitsu all day, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Jiu-Jitsu has made me a more patient mom.
Yeah.
Like I really struggled with patience just in general. I always wanted the next thing, moving on, moving up, whatever it was. But learning jiu-jitsu really taught me like you will go farther if you slow down and make sure that, what you're doing here and now is correct. Right. So I've really tried to translate that to other things and take the time to go over, the things that I've learned, whether it be at work or with the kids or in training and apply that to the things and the goals that I have moving forward.
I think it's interesting that you said, you have to make the time for yourself as a mom, specifically because like they say, right, you have to put your own oxygen mask on before you put someone else's, right? Like you have to do it because if you're not in your best condition or best headspace or whatever it may be, like you can't be that for all the other people in your family, right? Yeah. I was saying this the other day because I was saying this to Jacob the other day after school because it's like when you're a mom, you're not just yourself. It's like you're juggling everyone else's schedule, especially kids. Like, and the older your kids get, I mean, it's going to get probably even busier because they'll have social calendars and it's like, you're bound to make mistakes. There are times where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I totally just messed up. I didn't bring the right uniform to this place, or I forgot. Like literally we showed up at a baseball game and Jacob didn't have his cleats one time. Like it was just like, what do I do? So. Like it's so hard to kind of manage everything on there. So it's really important to find what is it. Fitness, I believe too, same thing. Really important. You need to do it, right? Otherwise, you're going to feel crummy. I know if I'm not my best self, I won't.
If you do not do it now, you are going to pay for it in the long run. Like your health, if you don't have your health, you do not have anything. And I know that, all fitness people talk like that and everybody wants, but it is very true.
But I almost think someone like yourself and myself too, because after having Jacob, I kind of gained weight as well. Like I got up to 160 pounds and that's crazy for me. Like I'm now like 130, but like, so like to gain that much weight after having him, like I had lost all my baby weight with him and then gained it. It was crazy. And like I said this in the last, my episode where I talked about like, that year I had so many changes, right? Like I had started at a new school as a teacher. Now I had 2 kids instead of 1. And it's like, so things had changed so drastically. Stress. And so, I just, stress. And I had stopped breastfeeding. So then I like just gained so much weight. But I feel like you and I feel like we can speak to this because this idea of fitness, right? Because it's not like we've just been like your whole life. It was just easy breezy and you were just fit your whole life, right? Like we've ebbed and flowed, right? And Absolutely. So if anything, we're a true testament to like fitness can really help you. And it's really important to prioritize your health because.
And it looks different for everybody. Does everyone need to be an MMA fighter? No. That is just how I enjoy fitness. Right. And, I struggled with staying consistent for so long. And I think it's because I thought that lifting weights was the only way to do fitness.
Yes.
And, I would do my own research and, when I was younger and trying to learn about, because I knew it was important and I wanted to be strong. I didn't know how. So, you know, my family wasn't really big into fitness, and I knew that when I was doing sports, that's really what, you know, shed light on fitness for me was while I was doing sports, I felt better. You know, I wanted to eat healthy because I needed that fuel going into the game for the day or whatever it was. And so I really put that together and was like, all right, this is the direction I want to go. While not everyone's going this direction, that was probably one of the first times I was like, all right, I'm going to take this path and see, you know, what I can do with this. And we were talking about, you know, fitness being important and why it's important. And I just would think it's really like people don't talk about there's many different forms of fitness. Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And you just need to find what you like to do. Yes. Because yes, you need it. You need to make sure your body is moving. If you don't use it, what is the saying? You don't use it, you lose it. I mean, I do not want to be older and in pain, and that's very ironic. While we were saying we do jiu-jitsu,
right? I know,
but I don't want to be able to not stand up and go greet my kids at the door or come help them with something, or if they're moving into an apartment, I'll be moving the couch. That's going to be the type of mom I want to be.
But it also affects you emotionally too, and mental. So your mental health, though, overall, not just like your physical aspect or looking a specific way, but it just your disposition is just so much better. I feel when you are putting your health first. I think so. Fitness in general. Can you speak to your diet? Like, what do you do? So you said you started like working out and everything like that, but like when you lost the weight, what was your diet like? And then what would you say like your diet is like now?
Yes, I can. Honestly, like it's a huge learning piece. You know, I did a lot of research into nutrition on my own. I'm very big at like wanting to look into things that I don't know about, right? So I tried to learn from others, and I think I quickly learned that there's no one size fits all. When I started to learn about like the macronutrients and like how that your body breaks down the different parts of food to make it fuel, I, you know, was overwhelmed at first. So I would do everything to a T, measure perfectly, try and get that perfect number for the day, and, you know, eating a tablespoon of peanut butter or whatever it was to meet the numbers. Yeah. It was very hard to stay consistent. Yeah. And so I tried it, it didn't work, and I would be either all in or all out. So my weight was reflecting, honestly, always my diet, because that was a very difficult piece. I could work out the 2 hours in the gym lifting, but if my diet wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, you know, and not staying consistent with water is, I feel like, a huge thing that people don't talk about. Water is a huge deal. So I struggled with that for a long time. And so what I will say is that now I am consistent because I'm not as strict. Like, I have been strict. I was strict during each MMA camp. You know, it was 8 weeks of like, you know, consistently making sure that the food I was eating was working towards, what did we do? We went from 155 to 129 for my first MMA fight. And that was...
You're so tall.
That was a lot. This girl shouldn't have fought at 129.
Oh my goodness.
But I did it, and I didn't think I could. And I proved to myself that I could. And it took a lot of discipline and a lot of diet and a lot of water. Holy cow, is that all about water weight. But
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't think that. I'm like, water weight.
So much water involved in an MMA cut. But I feel like not making sure that you have a balance and you are eating healthy while also giving yourself that space to Friday night bacon cheeseburger with tater tots from your favorite place. Like, that's important.
Yeah. Okay, so the premise of this podcast is strong, successful females. And I was just kind of curious. I've asked this question of every guest that's been on. But what would you say success looks like to you? Because, I mean, looking at your bio and a lot of the things you do, managing your 3 precious kiddos on top of it, it sounds like you're pretty successful. So what does success look like to you?
Success to me is going after what you want to do. You know, whatever your purpose is, or whatever, you know, you're going to laugh at this, but I say, like, what sets your soul on fire. You know, that is what you need to run towards. For a long time, I think I was struggling because I was trying to be what other people wanted me to be. And I worked really hard to course correct that. And now I feel like I'm in a place where I am the best mom that I've always wanted to be. Awesome. I have fitness goals. I have consistency, and that is very important to me. And it's all because like I focused on the things that were important to me, and I went towards them, or I worked towards them with all of my heart, in everything I have. So whatever it is, I think you need to pour all of your effort into it and believe in yourself, because you're not going anywhere if you don't believe you can.
I love that. And then what about strength? What's strength? Like, how would you define strength? Because, you know, there's many different ways you could define that. Is it only physical?
Is strength only physical? No way. I mean, strength is probably, it comes in many forms, and I feel like you are constantly dealing with it, right? You're constantly, even if you are strong and confident, you are reevaluating and looking at, you know, what you can do to improve. So strength is not just physical. While I will tell you lifting and those things contribute to a strong mindset, but strength comes in many forms for different people. I feel like I didn't answer that question at all very well.
No,
but
it's okay. That comes back to you. If there's something else that comes up, feel free. No, I know. I look at it as, right, it's all aspects of your life. Like if you goal set, right, we try to goal set like spiritual, physical, like emotional, whatever it may be, right? So I feel like there's different avenues, and so it can look different for everyone. Like you said, like even going back to success, it's whatever you're chasing after and that you have an interest in, or a fire like that's burning, right? That you want to go after. So same idea there, I think, with strength. I mean, looking at you, I would definitely say, oh, wow, she's so strong. But yeah, I think it goes beyond that. What is maybe a recent achievement that has brought you joy? I think you've hit on a couple of things, but I'm curious. I mean, like, I think it's really big, like getting second at like PANS and IBJJF. I mean, that's Worlds. I mean, that's
that
crazy.
That felt great, right?
Yeah.
So I just tried it. Like I, took all of the training that we've done and I put it towards something big and stepped out of my comfort zone. I feel like that was a big accomplishment for me because I was able to grow through that. There was a lot of things I learned competing at that level that I was able to take back and better myself from. Even though I didn't win, I did not feel like I lost by any means.
Definitely not.
Those brackets were multiple matches to get to that point, and I actually faced the same girl in the finals at PANS that I faced in the finals at Worlds.
Wow.
And I felt so ready for that when we went to Worlds. I really had looked at what I was able to bring to PANS, and I worked towards the package I was able to bring to Worlds, and I made a mistake, and I looked at it and I'm like, you can do everything right, or you can put all of your efforts towards, bringing your best version to a competition, but you are going to make mistakes. And like, that was a very good lesson to learn. Like that was a very good thing to walk away with, that, even though you work really hard to prepare, like that stuff does happen. Yeah. But it gave me a really good place and a lot of motivation going into this year, and what I want to work towards at the end of this year.
It's interesting you said about like you worked really hard and you kind of saw yourself like grow even from PANS to like Worlds. Yeah. And then Kevin in the same sense. So Kevin did Worlds and won gold in the Open. So that was crazy. We were home screaming at the TV.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But what was cool there too is, he said his goal, like he literally for that whole entire year last year, he like had world champion, like written out, like on his steering, like he's like, I'm
Yeah.
going to be world, like he made that plan and he trained for it and he worked towards it. And it was just so awesome to see it pay off. Like it was such an emotional moment. I felt like I won, even though it wasn't even me. So I can't even imagine like winning a major or even to play second in a major. I would be so proud of that.
And I feel like that is a perfect example, like him writing that out. Like I saw once that if you don't believe in yourself, who else will?
Well, I know.
And it's like, I remember telling people that I was going to try and go to Pans or try and go to Worlds and, just really test myself. And they'd be like, oh, really? Haven't you only been doing this for, and it's like, yeah, that's true. And, I really wouldn't let it bother me, but that is exactly it. Like if you believe and you are in the right headspace to compete for something,
then no one can tell
go
you otherwise.
towards a goal, like you follow through for yourself, then the rest falls in place.
Yeah. On the flip side, I've even seen it though too, where when you try to tackle big audacious goals, right? Like there can be a little bit of like you have those moments of weakness,
Humbling,
right? Where you totally doubt whether or not you can do it. And I remember when I did like my national board certification for education, and when I got it, I was so proud and everyone's like, of course you did. And I was almost annoyed that people said that to me. I'm like, no, don't say, of course I did. I worked so hard to get that. And I didn't know if I could do it. But it's also funny too, that like sometimes people see you and they might think, oh, that Kate, she's going to be fine. And it's like, you might have those moments where you feel like, no, I might not be fine. But so I think it can kind of go both ways, right? Where you have to believe in yourself, and understand that, when you're training towards something that's really big, scary, and it seems like it's hard to get to, like there's going to be those moments where it might be really hard, but you got to keep pushing and it's going to, pay off in the end.
I feel like MMA gave me that. Like, obviously you want to win the fight, right? But if you look back, the months of training that you put in for that one fight, it's no longer about the trophy. It's no longer about the win. It's about how far you've come and everything you've overcome just to reach where you are. I know I was strong. You know what I mean? Every time I went into a fight, I was stronger and better. And so if I look back on all of that, that time that I spent in growing that piece of me, I was like, man, that's a lot of progress and a lot of achievement. And that feels really good. And I always say this, and I probably have repeated myself 3 times today, but like, if you're not working towards a goal, like, are you really living your life? I see it as we all typically get a job and go to work, right? And even if it's just a goal in that career, being in the same routine every day, like you need to find a goal. Human beings, I think we, really become our best selves when we're working towards something, that you truly enjoy. Yeah. So I think having goals and really working towards, growth is a really big positive in life.
Well, and so this might be exactly what you just said, but what's one thing you would want listeners, listening to your episode today, what would be something you would want someone to learn from this conversation or take away? Is there like a little golden nugget you want people to, or women or anyone who's listening?
I would say get out there and try something new. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your same routine. If there's something even sparks your interest, or, we all have technology at our hands every day. Like, you can't tell me that while you're on the internet, there's not something that you see that you're like, man, I'd love to try that, or, oh, I wish I could have done that. I started all of this at 30.
I know.
And it's like, oh, I'm 30. I always say I'm just a mom. But it's like, what else would I be doing? I would still be taking care of my children. We would still be going to all the scheduled things that we go to, but we also have this that we can bond over. And I really enjoy that. And so if I had never tried it and got myself in an uncomfortable spot and, tried to see if it was for me, I would never have known that this community existed, these type of people that all, work together like-minded like this. So definitely try something new.
Yeah. We were saying that too. Like, and we, as the group of women at Triumph, like we would have maybe never crossed paths had we never had this to bond over, right?
Yes.
And then it is a cool bonding experience for a family. Like our entire family does it, right? And so that's a cool bonding experience. I will say though, doing a tournament where all of us are competing it's hard. Like the adrenaline, the emotions, because my stomach gets in knots just even when my family competes. When Hannah and Jacob are out there, or Kevin, it's scary. It's like I go nuts, right? Like mama bear, right? And then even yourself, the emotions and the feelings you're going through when you're about to go on, right? It's the same idea. So it's amazing in so many different ways. I feel all of the emotions and feelings and about jiu-jitsu in general. Do your kids compete? Have they competed?
Landon has started competing. Okay. The boys started wrestling. I really wanted doing jiu-jitsu and I never stepped on a wrestling mat in my life, so I wanted to give them that foundation of, I watched those wrestlers transition into jiu-jitsu fairly easily.
Yes.
So I wanted to give them that foundation, and the comfort with the moves and the takedowns. And so they started with that, and then they moved into jiu-jitsu. I gave them the choice. I'm like, if you like wrestling, you can wrestle, and if you like jiu-jitsu, you can do jiu-jitsu. But mom does jiu-jitsu primarily, and I definitely think that helped influence a little bit. So they wanted to stick with the jiu-jitsu. Cool. Levi doesn't feel ready to compete, and I told him that that's 1,000% okay. I love that he gets the active lifestyle from jiu-jitsu and the community and the friends, but Landon's like, all right, I want to win a gold medal. And I was like, all right, buddy, let's go
for it.
So I can definitely agree with watching him go out and compete. I mean, even when he had just started wrestling, I feel like he was wrestling for like 60 days, not even 2 months. I remember thinking like, you haven't even, but he's like, I want to compete. And we did an all-day tournament for him. And his first match, the kid that he went with was probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches shorter than him. Like he was much smaller, same weight class. Landon's in his brand new wrestling stance, and this kid double taps the mat with his headgear on and looks at Landon like right before the ref says go. And I was like, oh my God. And Landon did good. He did, he practiced his technique. He's pretty specific. I remember him looking at me at one point while this kid is wrestling him. And I'm like, I just wanted to get out there and help him. But it made me realize that it's super important for them. Like, you were in a safe, controlled area. Go ahead and feel that fear now and learn that you can overcome it. Watching him fight through that entire match and not get pinned, I don't think I'll ever forget it.
Wow.
And you can probably talk about your daughter doing jiu-jitsu, like watching her learn how to handle anything coming at her, like that is invaluable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it gives you a peace of mind as a parent to know they can handle themselves, right?
Yeah, I want my kids to be confident, right? But like, there's not really how did my parents teach me to be confident? Like it was just something that
I think you watch them, right? And
and the experiences that you have as a kid, like that shapes who, and how you feel about scary situations when you grow up. So I'm hoping that this competing will give them, or even any of the training will give them something and a piece of confidence going into
awesome.
Growing up.
On the flip side, we're talking about having, Hannah, I don't think can juggle all of this because she's in too many different activities and sports, but Jacob's jiu-jitsu. I mean, that kid is growing so quickly. I think he could be so amazing. Like he is just leaps and bounds, like growing and progressing. And we are contemplating putting him in wrestling, right? There's a wrestling program right down the road, C2X, that a lot of the kids at our gym end up going to. And so I think that's probably a real possibility in the near future to put him in that, because I think it'll just like work so nicely alongside of the jiu-jitsu. So
you can think about it as like jiu-jitsu is, any of the martial arts are physically demanding, right? But I think of it like if my kid is really good at basketball or he wants to get better at basketball, I may put him in some strength and conditioning for agility and something to support that. And I feel like wrestling is another thing that supports the martial arts and the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, well, is there anything else you'd want to cover today that we didn't really get a chance to talk about? I feel like we've kind of
I
gone
know
over the
we've
bio.
been through a lot.
I know, sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
just kept throwing them at you, all these questions.
That's okay.
You did so well. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I guess we'll just close off today. We'll just end it here. If you would like to support us, we now have released Gunz and Bunz merch at gunzandrolls.com. And finally, I would love to invite you to share this podcast with someone that you think would enjoy it or would like it. And in the meantime, if you could also like and subscribe to Gunz and Rollz to see more Gunz and Bunz episodes like this one, we would greatly appreciate your support. So thanks for coming today, Kate.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time. Bye, guys. Thanks.